I probably just made a 1 minute Twitch, 1 second Twitch clip there. That's fine. And I need to pull up the Twitch chat. People need to subscribe to us during this one because I think we only got 1 sub on the last Q&A. And me and Cody...
How are subs doing? Are they maintaining, sort of?
Yeah, we're good. Also, we're live, so I can't say secret things.
Okay, yeah.
We're good. We would like more, though, if anyone's watching already. It would help us a lot.
Is the shortcut that we have to the Twitch chat, is that one I can give out to everybody?
The Twitch chat. You can, but people need to be logged into Twitch before they can type. So yeah.
I'll just do that. Okay.
Yeah, and it's really annoying because if you type in something and you're not logged in, you'll kick you to the sign-in page and it won't save what you typed. So that's nice. Hello, SpeakXJ7. Nice to have you back. We're just waiting for Cody to show up if he does.
We're going to give him another 17 seconds exactly.
Yeah, or he's fired.
Yeah, we're going on time.
The show must go on. So I turned on my 2016 Pixel to check some Chrome stuff, and I don't think I can go back to it now. The 5T is just so much faster, and it sucks because the 5T's camera is hot garbage in comparison. But I can't go back now. I'm stuck. Now I need to cough up the money for a Pixel 3.
Yep. I mean, I used a 2016 Pixel not long ago, and it seemed okay performance-wise.
Yeah, it's fine. And I put a new battery in mine a year ago, which helped a lot.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna do this thing, and Cody will just show up if he shows up.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Android Please podcast. I am your host, Ryan Whitwam.
And I'm Corbin Davenport.
And that's it. It's a weird week. We got people traveling and people busy, and I would assume somebody is asleep who's supposed to be here. But at any rate, we're going to talk about some news, and then if people have questions, we can also, we're also going to answer questions. So it's kind of like a hybrid news and Q&A show because, not a whole ton happened this week. But what did happen is that Allo is dead.
Yeah. So was that mine? Okay, I need to mute that phone. There we go. We're good now. So this weekend was a whirlwind of rumors about Hangouts and Allo and a Google engineer tweeting at Stephen Hall.
Yeah, it was. I feel like Googlers are very upset about the state of their products lately because, things have been changing rapidly.
Yeah. So after all the rumors Google finally took, I believe it was yesterday, they finally made a post on their blog clearing out exactly what was going on, and it turned out all the rumors were true. So the big takeaway is that Allo is shutting down at the end of March 2019. So Google said, given messages as in the Android messages SMS app, given messages continued momentum, we've decided to stop supporting Allo to focus on messages. Allo will continue to work through March 2019, and until then, you'll be able to export all of your conversation history. We've learned a lot from Allo, particularly what's possible when you incorporate machine learning features, blah, blah, blah. So Allo is going away.
Yeah, that's not surprising. That's going to be a big hit to the 10 people who were still using it. I mean, they haven't even updated it since January. It's been almost a year since they've even touched the app.
Yeah,
And it was
because
real. I mean, it was real lacking even before.
yeah, I know a couple months ago there was a report that I can't remember if this was from Google or if this was a rumor, but the report said that Google shifted its entire Allo team to work on Android messages. So Allo wasn't really being developed for the past couple months. So this is not surprising whatsoever. And the second part of the announcement was that people were very confused about what was happening with Hangouts. And what Google said is that Hangouts Meet and Chat, which are the business versions of Hangout that came out, I believe, a year ago, those will eventually show up for regular Google accounts, as in anyone will be able to access those.
Yeah, that whole thing, that seems very sketchy to me, and that's where the angry Googler showed up, because I think 9 to 5 had the story about Hangouts being shut down in the not too distant future, and I guess was it the person in charge of Hangouts?
It was the product lead for Meet and Chat for
Okay.
G Suite.
So that guy
So
showed
he
up on
was,
Twitter and like
yeah.
kind of freaked out, and I think said some regrettable things to Stephen Hall, who like frankly I think is mostly right about this, because like the idea that like that they're not like they're basically they're killing Hangouts as we know it, because Hangouts Meet and Hangouts Chat are they're not the same thing. They function completely differently. I mean, if you go and look at what Hangouts Chat offers, like it's Slack. It's
Yeah.
not a one-to-one messaging app.
Yeah, it's a Slack Discord type of app where it's chat rooms.
I mean, and I guess some people might be like, oh, I can just use that. I'll make a room that's just for like me and one other person. But like it's an extra layer of complication to add on top of a messaging app that you don't need.
Yeah, so David Lama asked in the Twitch chat, how does chat differ from regular Hangouts? Yeah, we just said that. It's instead of one-to-one conversations, it's like a room that you join with other people in your company. If you're,
I mean, you could make a room for every person that you know, but like that's just, let's not do that.
I mean, I feel like if Google wanted to, they could make chat like a pretty nice like Discord alternative. But it doesn't feel like they're going to do that.
I don't think that Google has the wherewithal to do that. But I mean, look, I mean that's the long short of it. It's like you know, Hangouts is probably going to go away, and you'll be able to use Hangouts Chat and Meet, but you probably won't. And and Allo is going away because it was terrible. So with
Hi, Cody.
Oh, he's here.
Cody's here.
Hello.
You're fired.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have pretty much completed the Allo discussion, Allo and Hangouts. If you have specific insights, feel free to share them now.
I won't miss it at all.
Yeah,
that's my insight.
Nobody will, really. Okay. Well, then let's talk about Twitch. Twitch is the thing that we're streaming on right now. Did you know that? If you're watching it, you probably do know that. If you're not watching it, you know you can watch us stream live on Twitch. We do every podcast on Twitch now, and that is where we have our chat. So if you want to talk to us, that is where you go. And while you're there, you can subscribe to the podcast, which helps support the show and helps make it possible for us to keep doing this. And if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you have one free Twitch subscription. And so you can use that on us. And it doesn't cost you anything. We get the Amazon monies, and everybody goes home happy. And if you do that during the show, the video feed, you'll see a Pixel 3 XL style notch appear on the screen with your name on it. It's a really handy feature, I think, you know, to just, you know, get something for your money. Also, we will recognize you in the chat room if we see you do it on, you know, why not? I mean, if you're not using that Twitch subscription, give it to us. And you'd have to renew it every 30 days. So if you already did it once, do please pay attention to that and renew it when it expires. So that's enough shilling. I guess we're going to talk about RCS, which I gotta tell you is super boring. RCS is so boring.
It's a little true.
Yeah, it's not the most exciting feature, I think. Especially a lot of the excitement has ended after it's been like over 2 years since Sprint got RCS. and that was about when we were excited for it the most.
I don't think I've ever gotten an RCS message. I don't think that's happened, right? Like, how would I mean, when would that have happened? Like, I mean,
Are you on Sprint?
no, I'm on
Okay.
T-Mobile, but they
Then you've
started. They started rolling out the profile like recently, didn't
no.
they?
I don't think so. Or I think there's like it required a phone update. I'm not sure how exactly it works on the back end. My understanding for a while was that you just needed a SMS app that supported RCS, and that was Google's. But then I think it was T-Mobile that started rolling out updates to Samsung phones with
Yes, yeah.
RCS included.
We wrote about this in July. They started rolling out the RCS Universal Profile, and they started with the Galaxy S7. I don't know. I just don't understand. It's such a stupid pain in the butt.
Yeah, I don't understand if an OS update is actually required or not. If so, that's very strange. I don't know.
I don't
No,
know.
none of us know because carriers are not great at communicating this, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's opaque to the end user, which I think is one of the main problems with RCS.
Oh, so
and a lot of the carrier systems that have existed so far are just not like they're just not interconnected yet. Like you can't
yeah,
send an RCS message on one carrier to another carrier. It's like 15 years ago when you couldn't send text messages to people on other carriers.
that was a thing.
That yes, Corbin,
Yeah.
that was a thing. God.
I wasn't aware of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, you were in diapers, so
Probably. Also, Maple Leaf in the chat said, "I've gotten random RCS messages on Pixels. You can see the little dots dancing when people are typing."
Huh.
So he got it. That's good. We got one
I've
person.
never seen that. Okay, so yeah, that exists. Well, yeah, but now it's what was the actual news item? It's something.
It's RCS.
Verizon on the Pixels. Verizon on the Pixels. You can do RCS. So if you know somebody else with a Verizon RCS capable phone, and you're also on Verizon, good for you.
You can send each other high quality pictures, which you could definitely not do before.
Yeah.
On anything.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can talk about the Qualcomm news. There's been a lot of Qualcomm news. What is most relevant to us is the Snapdragon 855 that will be in basically every flagship phone next year that isn't manufactured by Huawei.
Yes. So it's a processor.
No, it is a system on a chip, Corbin.
Yeah, that's right. They get mad when you call them processors. I'm sorry. It's a chip with a processor on it.
Yes, well, several processors, eight of them, yeah. eight CPU cores.
There's a lot of processors on it.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, it's similar to the 845. So it's 8 cores. 4 of them are the low power based on the A55, but of course they're like branded as Cryo. And then there are 4 high power cores based on the A76. What is different this time is they have this thing called Prime Core, which I think is a pretty great branding name, which is one of those high performance cores that's just clocked higher than all the others. So supposedly the way they have this set up now, of course the performance of the CPU is like better. It's like 40% or 45% better, but like that doesn't necessarily translate into like a noticeable difference on your phone. I think probably you'll see more impact from the GPU improvements. It's like I think that was supposed to be 20% faster, and a lot of what you do on phones now, like a modern smartphone, is very tied to the way the GPU performs. Let's see, what were the other cool things? Oh, so the new DSP. So it has an AI core in it. Everybody's got an AI core now, so Qualcomm has that too. And it can do like live HDR video and bokeh effects to like do like portrait mode things. Like in that is all supported natively on the chip. And then
it has
optional
5G.
It's optional 5G. So the 5G. Yes. So the modem on the SoC is LTE. It's the X24. That's fast LTE. It's up to 2 gigabits. Not that any carrier is going to actually be able to give you that, but then like optionally, devices can have like an interconnected 5G modem, and that's the X50. We've already seen that, but the chip, supports this specifically, so I guess it'll be easier. But that's going to be later next year probably, and it's going to be tied completely into carriers. It's probably going to make buying a phone kind of a pain in the butt because every carrier is doing their own sort of thing with 5G, and they're probably it's going to be like when LTE came out and there were special editions of phones that had LTE. It's probably where we're going to be at for 5G next year. But
yeah.
Yeah.
So your next phone will be marginally faster, and it may or may not connect to 5G. That's the long story short.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure that this is a very technically impressive achievement, and you're not going to notice substantial differences. But Qualcomm is just sort of the de facto choice for high-end smartphones now. So expect to see this in like the Galaxy S10 and the OnePlus whatever they release early next year.
Yeah. And speaking of that, there was some outlets reported that the first phone with this processor would be the next OnePlus phone. But that was not the case. That was taken out of context. So Samsung will still be the first company to make a phone with the chip. So just so we get to set the record straight. Just like every year, the first phone with this new Snapdragon processor will be presumably the S10, if that's what it's called.
So yay, download apps faster, because that's pretty much all you're going to do.
Yeah, your phone will not lock up as hard when you're installing apps.
Oh, no, the installing and lockup thing, that's not going away. That's all processor bound.
No. Your phone will your $800 phone will still lock up when updating Twitter. We're sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a little bit confused by what OnePlus said about their 5G phone, where they're like trying to keep it under $1,000. Like, how is that? How does that add so much cost to the phone? The modem can't be that expensive.
They have to use special material for the modem, I guess. It's made out of diamond.
Yeah, I guess.
Gold adamantium core.
Also, thanks to Luck Buckets for subscribing to the podcast. That's a good name too. I enjoy your name.
Thank you, Luck Buckets. You're very handsome.
Yes, cheers to you, sir, or ma'am. I'm gonna go, sir.
Yeah, let's be honest. But yeah, so I mean, so OnePlus is. I mean, I don't think that OnePlus can sell a phone that is anywhere near $1,000. I mean, their phones are very nice for the price. Like they're a good deal, but I don't think that it's gonna compete with like a Samsung flagship phone or a Google flagship phone.
I kind of actually don't want to discount that possibility so much, because there's just this odd way OnePlus has been weirdly lucky. I don't know if there's some kind of skill involved, if there's some genius there, but OnePlus has this crazy way of just being able to pop up and make things happen. It might work.
And this is going to be a phone sold by UK carrier EE, so there's a very good chance that this will be discounted after like a week, and it'll actually turn out to be a normal smartphone price.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope we don't get it to the point where we just all assume that 5G phones are going to cost substantially more than 4G phones. I don't think that actually. I don't think that actually is a substantial cost increase. I'm sure they have to buy the extra modem and that costs something, but I don't think it should cost hundreds of dollars more. It's just like an excuse to charge more for the phones now.
I'm going to venture a guess that some of it may have to do with basically like patent licensing and things like that. And forgive me for putting it this way, but I think they're just going to try to recoup their cost a lot sooner. That's probably why these prices are so much higher. They're trying to raise the price so that they don't have any risk of losing out.
Yeah, and we'll see. There's a chance at least some crazy people will think that a 5G phone for hundreds of dollars more is justified because it's going to be so much faster. So
I mean, the thing is, so like 5G is as much of a big thing for carriers as it is for consumers, because carriers know that they can use it to manage their networks much more efficiently. I mean, they should want to get 5G into people's hands, and charging $200 or $300 more just for having 5G, I don't think is gonna do that.
Well, but the carriers don't. To some extent, they control what phone prices are, but they don't control it enough. I think if the OEMs want to charge that much more, the carriers are not going to be able to stop
I mean,
them.
In the U.S. at least, I mean, almost every phone is sold through carriers, so carriers have some say. You know, if you want to sell a lot of phones in the U.S., you have to do something that carriers will tolerate. But okay, so we just did the Twitch shilling like pretty recently, so I'm not going to do it again. Because we're there's not a lot going on this week. We're blowing through the topics, so subscribe to the Twitch channel. It's really easy and free if you have Amazon Prime. Okay, and now we're going to talk about the Fossil Sport.
Yes, so I bought a Fossil Sport with my own money on Black Friday because it was 30% off. So I got it for under $200, which is a steal. So I wrote the review for it, and overall, this is a pretty good watch. Unlike a lot of other people at other sites, I think Wear OS is generally okay. It's gotten a lot better over the past year, especially with the recent update that redesigned everything. That fixed most of my problems with Wear OS. But the Fossil Sport is important because it is the first mainstream watch with the new Wear 3100 processor, which is supposed to be far more battery efficient than the Wear 2100 that's been in every watch for the past 2.5 years or so. So the Fossil Sport comes in two sizes. I got the 41 millimeter, and I put this leather band on it. That's not factory. It comes with a silicone band, just like every other sporty watch. But it has basically everything that a Wear OS watch can have. It has Google Pay. It has its own GPS sensor. It has heart rate sensor. Has an ambient light sensor. It has all the sensors. It has everything. It does not have a 4G radio, which I don't care about because that usually makes the watch extremely thick. And it also does not have a speaker, which annoyed some people. I never take calls on my watch, so I don't super care about that. I wish they would have added it, but my understanding is that waterproofing is a lot easier without the speaker. So, and this thing is also waterproof up to 5 meters underwater, which is nice if you do pool things. So, of course, this is the same Wear OS experience that every other recent watch has, because most of Wear OS is updated through the watch's Play Store. So it has the new notifications where they actually do group, and they're a lot easier to go through. It has the new Google Assistant page on the left side. It has the new Google Fit page on the right side. All that good stuff. If you have a watch that was updated recently, it's the same thing. So the software experience isn't that different. What I was really looking for going into this review was the battery benefits of the Wear 3100, because that's what Qualcomm's been hyping up for the past 3 months. And I came away a little disappointed because the battery life, I could get about 2 days max on this watch, which is not amazing. But in my opinion, it's still fine. Like, the battery on my last watch was fine. I wish it was better. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that the battery life is supposed to get better over time, because the Wear 3100 has one feature called Sport Mode that Qualcomm advertised a couple months ago, where you're supposed to be able to get 15 hours with GPS and the heart rate sensors running at the same time. And that is not in Wear OS yet. I think Fossil told someone that's coming in Q1 2019. So that's coming. There's a chance Wear OS could get more optimized for this processor as time goes on. I'm not convinced there's going to be a radical difference, because architecture wise, there's not a lot different in this chip than the last one. It just has more specialized cores for like ambient mode and that kind of thing. Oh, and that's the other thing, is that this Fossil Sport has a so if you've used battery saver on the older Android Wear and Wear OS watches, it kind of just made it so it didn't automatically turn on when you turned your wrist. On this watch, it actually shuts down the Android OS part, and it just loads up it just shows the time. And Fossil says it can go about 4 days in that mode from 100% battery, and it can turn on automatically when you get down to 9%. So, in short, I think it's a pretty good watch. The battery life isn't as amazing as I think Qualcomm hyped it up to be, but it is still pretty good. It lasts a day and a half, 2 days for most people. I like the Google Pay. It works well. I like the heart rate sensor, seems to work fine. So if you're like me and you've just been using one of the older Android Wear watches for a long time, like the Huawei watch or a Moto 360 or something like that, I think this is a really good upgrade, especially for only, I say only, but $250. That's not bad, I think, for everything you get. And yeah, and if you've never gotten a smartwatch before, I mean, this seems like a nice overall option. Obviously only if you have an Android phone though, because if you have an iPhone, you should just get an Apple Watch, because that'll be more integrated and a better experience probably.
So what's the deal with the body of the watch? It's nylon, or
it's supposed to be nylon and aluminum, I think. And they
the top, like the ring around the screen, is aluminum, but I think like the rest of the body is nylon. So I guess it's pretty light.
It is pretty light. It's lighter than my Huawei watch, but that was also like a solid aluminum brick, so it's hard to.
Yeah. That's interesting. I have a keyboard with a milled aluminum milled nylon bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, and let's see. So Maple Leaf in the chat said, Fossil is serious about Wear OS. The Fossil Q Explorers is nicer than some of their mechanical watches. Yeah, it's weird that sort of all the traditional smartphone and electronics companies have kind of given up on Wear OS, and it's the fashion brands that are keeping it going now. Like Fossil makes more money on Wear OS than any other company, definitely.
Oh, I'm sure they make the majority of Wear devices now.
Well, yeah,
they a lot of the brands that you hear about releasing watches are part of Fossil Group.
Yeah, they own Tommy Hilfiger. They own Misfit, so they make the Misfit Vapor too. Yeah, so I think
I'm a little suspicious Google wanted it that way, because they were sort of promising fashion brands, not day one, but pretty close to it.
I think that they would still prefer that, like Asus and LG and all those companies were like serious about Wear OS, but like they're very...
I'm sure they'd like it if they were serious, but I think we're past the point of serious from a lot of them.
But I mean, fashion brands are never going to create innovative hardware. They're just using reference designs and putting them in different cases.
Of course not.
Yeah,
I don't think that's good for the platform long term, and I'm sure Google knows that.
Well, Google is also responsible for creating most of the reference platform. Of course, that had to go off. But yeah, they're responsible for the reference platform in combination with Qualcomm. So, it's still basically funneling through them. They're in control of it, and I don't think other companies were really doing that much to add to it. Except, there's been a couple oddballs like LG trying to put hands on a watch and a couple of other things. But yeah, it's not like there's a lot coming from the other companies.
Well, I mean, there's not much incentive right now when nobody is really buying Wear OS devices.
There wasn't there was incentive back when the watches were still kind of new, and you still didn't see a whole lot coming from anybody. I mean, Motorola got a little inventive with the 360, and there, like I said, again, there were a couple little things, but you didn't see big revolutionary changes.
Yeah, and it also just comes down to like throwing more RAM on the watch is not going to make a difference, or like some more storage would be nice though, because someone in the comments of the review mentioned that the storage on their watch was very low out of the box, and I checked mine. I installed like maybe 5 apps and I'm down to like 900 megabytes left. So I think we need to bump up the storage a little bit on these watches. That's not great. But the rest is, whatever. Obviously, a better processor would be good, but Qualcomm seems to be the only company interested, and they're not even really super interested. The Wear 3100 is still like 14 nanometer or something like that.
28, I think.
Yeah, it's the same process they've been using for years.
Yeah, so, I mean, and if you ask them, they have all sorts of rationalizations for that, but I think they said it comes down to like, doing the extensive work it would take to completely revamp their wearable platform just isn't worth it.
Yeah, they did say that the larger manufacturing process is actually more battery efficient, but I'm not sure if that makes sense.
I mean, maybe like however they were committed to doing it, that might be true, but I don't know how that could be true. Like if you just start from scratch and you were going to make like a new wearable chip, but I don't know. Okay, so that is the end of our topic list. So we said that we would solicit questions. If anybody has questions, anything they want to ask about, now is the time to do that. And so I guess it's like the Q&A show, that we do every week as well, which you can also tune into on Twitch. So yeah,
except me and Cody are not talking about cameras for 2 hours. I can't do that again this week.
Yeah, let's definitely not do that. So yes, if you're in the Twitch chat room, do please ask us any questions that you may have.
So looking back at the history after you solicited questions, David asked, will the new 5G devices be thicker, or will they look like the prototypes? The prototypes made by Qualcomm are not made to look nice. They're just they're just white label phones that they've put their new chip in. They're not supposed to be representative of like of what actual 5G phones will look like. So they'll presumably look nicer.
So I don't think that they're, I don't think they're going to look like super ugly, but like I have played with the at least like mock-ups of the Motorola 5G mod for the Z3, and it's got some weird like bumpy things going on. I think so. Like the modem, obviously, it takes up like no more space. That's not a problem. But 5G phones, I think, are for at least a while, they're going to have like multiple antennas like all over the place, because if you just like have your hand over the 5G antenna, it doesn't work, because 5G is mostly going to be very high frequency, like 60 gigahertz, and just putting your hand over the antenna will block that signal completely. So, and as like Qualcomm is doing all these like things, they have like beam steering and the multiple antennas, and they think that like this will, you'll be able to hold a 5G phone and still have it connect to 5G. But I think like adding in the extra hardware for that might make the phones a little bit more bulky, at least at first. But I guess we will see.
Yeah, and we'll also see if companies make up for the presumably lower battery life and bigger radios by adding bigger batteries. My guess is no, but
yeah, we'll see. the battery life question is still unclear. I think with a properly managed network, it might not be a problem, because ideally, if you're connected to 5G, your phone will only connect to 5G when you actually need to be downloading something quickly, and the phone can flip on the modem, buffer or download whatever big file it needs to, and then flip back off faster than if you were using LTE. But that is, of course, that's an ideal scenario. I don't know if it's actually going to work like that.
Yeah, I guess if you're if it only turns on the 5G radio when you're actually connected to 5G, then battery life should be fine because almost no one is going to be in a 5G area.
LTE is going to be necessary in these phones for the foreseeable future because that's where most of your data is going to come from. Like especially like if you're indoors and there isn't an indoor 5G network, it is unlikely you will be connected to 5G. So like you're going to need LTE for that, and for calls and for RCS messages, like those are all still going to require LTE. But yeah.
I think RCS is supposed to work over Wi-Fi. I think
it's one of the use cases that they're supposed to support, but more and more I'm really getting doubtful because that's working over Wi-Fi is completely dependent on the carrier supporting it. Because basically what they have to do is have basically token for your phone that's going to support receiving over the internet from a separate source that your phone is sending messages, receiving messages, stuff like that. And you know, it's such a expectation that carriers actually implement this stuff.
Well, it's just like Wi-Fi calling, like that still varies a lot.
I mean, how many years did it take to get that like worked out on the carrier end after it became a thing?
Mm-hmm.
You can buy phones still to this day that will not work with Wi-Fi calling on certain carriers.
Yeah, especially unlocked phones.
That aren't
that's designed for that carrier. Yeah, it's okay though. RCS is totally a replacement for Hangouts. It'll work fine.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have additional questions? Anybody?
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
So real quick, Maple Leaf asked, "Can we talk about the arrest in Canada of the Huawei CFO?" I don't think any of us are legal experts. I don't have any like super big thoughts about this other than that's probably not going to go well for Canada or China or both.
Well, Canada's handing her off to us, are they not?
Yeah, they're extraditing.
So in truth, I think Canada is going to be a really small part of this story. They might catch a little bit of flack here and there in like critical discussion, but I don't think China's going to give them any real issue over this. What I think is going to end up becoming the real issue is it's the sanctions that they're accused of violating are not. It's such a finicky issue about how all of those were set up to begin with, and the real solid enforcement of that is a very recent thing. So arresting her on the basis of what the company has done for something that was questionably legal or questionably within the rules of the sanctions before, and now only in the last 2 weeks, I forget when the sanctions technically were like doubled down, but to arrest her on the basis of what's a very recent change, that's going to get really iffy. And I'm kind of thinking that could backfire from both sides. The US, if enough people get interested in this, might actually get angry about this.
Yeah.
But we need to hear the actual like legal bounds for this way before any of this actually gets enforced.
Yeah. And regardless, I do think it is going to get messy because our government is currently in a trade war with China, and this is sort of an extension of that, but also more so an extension of the ongoing pressure the US government is putting on Huawei. Like I know 2 weeks ago, the Australian government outlawed using Huawei's hardware for their 5G network. And I believe the US government sort of nudge them in that direction. I think Canada is doing something similar as well, but I'm not 100% on that. So it's messy, and it's
going to get worse.
Yeah, it's too early to say what will happen because she was just arrested today. So we'll see how that develops, and we'll update you on the AP podcast. Probably not. So also Claudio asked, "What do you think about the TicWatch Pro? I want an always-on screen that lasts 2 days, and that seems to be the only option." I haven't personally used the TicWatch Pro, but Scott, another writer here at androidpolice.com, did review it. So I will paste his review in the chat. But my understanding is that he did like it. His one concern with the watch was mostly that it came out right before the Wear 31 watches hit. So he was concerned that it might not be a good buy moving forward if the new watches are significantly different, but they're not. There's not a massive difference. So I think you'd be fine picking one up.
So I have one, and I will just say, in real life, it is super ugly.
I mean, it does.
Well,
it does look,
that.
It looks ginormous, though. It's,
yeah, I also don't like the way it fits. It's sort of got that. It's got that like kind of that watch urbane thing where the actual like body of the watch sort of is like stretched, so the lugs are like a little bit far out, and it's like this large flat piece of plastic that just sort of hovers on your wrist. I don't particularly like the way it looks or feels. I mean, it's fine. It's a fine watch. I am kind of annoyed that like the only option for ambient mode is the giant digital face thing because of like, the way that the dual layer display works. But I just think that looks kind of silly on a round watch.
So it's obviously something very different, but I will throw in, depending on why you want the always on display, if it's all about seeing the hands at all times, I will throw in, if you want 2-day plus battery life, the LG W7. You got hands, they definitely run that long. The watch looks better than the TicWatch Pro. And I'm still building full opinions on this, but I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. It's it has issues, but it's kind of good.
This is a top 10 anime plot twist right here. I was not expecting Cody to like it.
I know. I actively mocked this on Twitter. I want to come clean. I hated this idea of this thing, and now I'm kind of like almost converted. But still have to get there on actual like full usage decision on that, but getting closer.
I mean,
go on, Ryan. Sorry.
So it's just like, how do you even use it with these hands in the way? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Okay, so I'm not going to... You already know, and I think most people do. You can hold a button, and it'll make the hands electronically. They move to basically a neutral kind of horizontal position on the watch face, so they're more or less out of the way. However, so the thing is, how often are you looking at things on your watch anyway? I know that that's going to sound like really dumb from a smartwatch perspective, but how often are you really looking? It's pretty much just notifications that are coming in, right? You're not using apps. I know both of you guys well enough to know that you're not like really actively using a lot of apps on your watch. If you're not the type of person using a lot of apps, then it's pretty much down to a few notifications, maybe a lot of notifications, and looking at the time. And if those are the things that you're doing, the hands really are not actually that big of a problem. So again, this very much comes down to like your use cases. But for someone who's in those scenarios, this is actually kind of better, at least in the sense that you always have the hands and they look nicer.
What was the launch price supposed to be for that watch? It was like $450.
$450, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, come on. If they ever try to sell it for that much, then nobody should ever buy it. If they're going to sell it for $200, then I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it's $250 now, which I think is a much better.
Say
that's agreeable. Like I can understand that. I could not understand $400.
If you go on Amazon right now, I see. Oh wait, those might be used. I'm not quite sure, but I see one of them for about $240. But yeah, there's another for $250. Yeah,
I know that W7's on Best Buy.
Exactly. And it's the same thing. I said this, I think, on the Q&A show. It's the same thing LG does all the time. They release stuff at a really high retail price, and then they, within a week, 2 weeks, whatever, they drop it down substantially. They do this with their phones. They're doing this with a watch.
That's dumb. Why would a company do that? They just get all this bad press for having ridiculous pricing, and people just write it off and they don't pay attention again.
I'm well, there are two arguments. One of them obviously being that they want to release something expensive and then put it on a deal because people love deals. The other argument, the one at least I make all the time, is they're doing it for corporate customers. That applies way more to phones than it would watches. That's obviously irrelevant on a watch, but on phones they sell to Boeing or name whatever company, where they'll buy seriously like a pallet of phones to use to hand out to employees or whatever, and they buy them at retail price, or retail price is used as their negotiating starting point. So that is a reason that a lot of companies do this. It's absolutely true. It just doesn't apply to us. We don't see or care about that. That's why the price drops immediately.
Well, do we have further questions? Anybody?
Oh, and yeah, to answer SpeakXJ, yes, I am doing a full review. Should be late next week. At least assuming I get... There's a long story to this, but I need to get a replacement watch. It's supposedly already in the mail.
The hands have fallen off.
Not quite.
They didn't do that.
Just to answer, it's a my one unit. I got unlucky with this. I got the one unit that's having a battery failure. So it happens. And it's funny that I'm still getting about 2 days battery life with a failing battery. So
Cody,
this thing's actually surviving.
Although Cody does have a 2nd-degree burn on his wrist now. So
no, I do not.
Okay.
I do not. It's 1st degree. Only 1st degree.
That's good.
Okay. I swear I saw one other question in here. Am I wrong?
Who was?
I'm pretty sure we got everything.
Yeah, okay, maybe.
Oh, so real quick, Luck Buckets asked when I was talking about the Fossil watch, he said, is the charger a Qi wireless charger or is it proprietary? It does use pin charging, but it's the best implementation of pin charging I've ever seen. Basically, instead of having just 2 like little pads on the bottom of the watch, I'll put it on my video. The entire bottom of the watch is the metal contacts, so you can slap it on
radial.
So you can slap it on from any position and it'll charge. It is a world of a difference from my Huawei watch, where I had to very gently put it in the right position, and sometimes I would still like wake up and it would have a low battery signal because I didn't get it exactly right.
Yeah, that's I mean, I wish that watches would just use standard wireless charging, especially now that so many more phones have it. I feel like you can get away with it. People will have chargers around.
Yeah, it does seem better that way. That there are arguments against it, like the portability of the chargers themselves, but for the most part, it would really be nice to standardize either around wireless charging, or if you are going to have pogo pins, for the love of God, please just standardize the shape of those pins. That would save so much.
And Luck Buckets did ask if all the Fossil watches use the same kind of charger. I think they do, but I don't have any other Fossil watches to confirm.
The handful of Fossil watches I've used were all the same, but I don't know if that is still the case.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, you can pick up new chargers. I think they sell them for like $10 or something on their online store, and there are a bunch of Fossil stores all over the place that have them. So,
and yeah, as Luck Buckets points out, and it's definitely true, wireless chargers aren't going to work with all watches, basically because some watches are too small for the coils.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this implementation. Like, I think this is it's good. I don't have a problem with charging my watch anymore. Whereas my Huawei watch was a royal pain to try to charge at night, and my Gear Live's charger broke like 3 times because that watch was a joke. That was so bad. I can't believe Samsung made the charger for that watch.
Yeah, that thing was famously bad.
I think I bought 2 replacement chargers on eBay from South Korea.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really quick, Luck Buckets also brought up motion charging on watches, like the kinetic charging thing that some mechanical watches do. It's pretty much implausible on smartwatches, just because they use way more power than kinetic charging can really produce.
That'd be really funny too if you had to like shake your arm like a lot to if it died.
Okay, I know that this is terrible, but I'm just thinking back to some TV show where someone was wearing a fitness band and they were expected to get so many steps in a day, and they ended up on an airplane, and they needed to get their steps in. So for whatever reason, they threw a blanket over their wrist and started shaking their hand. You can imagine what this looks like. I'm now just imagining a bunch of people with smartwatches doing that all the time, and that's just not going to look good.
It's the smartwatch equivalent of like playing Wii bowling on the couch.
Yeah.
So David in the chat room asked, how do we feel about the current state of Android? That's just a nice quick question to answer there. I'm sure we all have very succinct thoughts on the entirety of the platform.
Okay, so not the it's all right. You know,
it's
a little
good.
of this, a little of that. I was actually going to suggest this to the people for the show, that maybe since we're coming up on like a no news part of the year, we might actually just do a whole episode kind of talking about this sort of thing. So not to derail the question right now, but you know, I think that could actually make a decent segment for a show. Don't know how you guys feel about that, but
I mean, possibly. I mean, we are going to have a couple of weeks where very little is happening. Obviously, this is one of those weeks. It's only a few things happen. So
maybe on the next Q&A, instead of talking about cameras for 2 hours, we'll talk about Android for 2 hours. Or we'll play, or
would be more appropriate.
Or me and Cody will play Minecraft on the Twitch channel. That might also happen at some point.
There is a possibility of this.
Yeah. We can talk about cameras while we're playing Minecraft, though, so the camera people don't feel left out.
Maple Leaf asked why more Android devices don't support Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4.0. I assume Ryan will have another answer to this, but my short answer is going to be they don't want to pay for the license on it.
Yeah,
because
I think that's the real answer.
Qualcomm charges a fairly substantial amount for enabling that feature, and a lot of companies just don't want to add that to the cost on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, and also like Samsung has been using the equivalent of Quick Charge 2.0 for 3 or 4 years, and people aren't really complaining that loud. I think people are okay with like 15, 18 watts. Like that's good enough. And also you can just use USB power delivery if you want faster. Like that's a thing.
That's good enough for most people. It's USB power delivery.
Yeah, that's the thing. It really is. Like there's a top end on how fast you need a phone to charge, and turns out that's kind of what it is.
I mean, look, I don't know if I would say that, because
okay, yeah, it's always nice if it can go faster. But
we had the Mate 20 Pro review recently, and Scott showed me a screen recording of that phone charging, because it has like a 40-watt charger or something, and it shows the battery power down to 2 decimal places, and you can actually see it like going up as you look at it. And it's really cool, and I kind of want that. It would be cool to just like plug your phone in for 20 minutes and have it be like full, you know?
Yeah. I won't deny that.
Yeah. So the last question from David also, he asked, will MediaTek processors ever be good? And originally I was going to do a sarcastic no and just end the show there. I think that would have been kind of funny, but I actually do have a serious answer to this. So a couple months ago, when ZTE got that import ban from the US and they couldn't use Qualcomm chips, there was, I believe, I don't know if it was the owner of MediaTek or the owner of Alibaba, which is like one of the major tech companies in China. They're not just like an online store, they do other stuff too. And he mentioned that China needs to build up their own processor companies like MediaTek when something like this happens again. So I think that there's a chance MediaTek might actually be good at some point, because I think there's a lot of incentive for Chinese companies to have an ingrown processor.
Point of order, MediaTek is Taiwanese.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
I could have sworn it was China. Okay. Disregard everything I said then.
Well, that doesn't change that they still want other options.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
like Huawei. Huawei makes their own SoCs, and they are quite good.
Yeah. And the point still stands that MediaTek would not be affected by a trade ban from the US. So, although I can't imagine the Chinese government feels particularly great about Taiwan either, but I'm not going there. That's a whole thing.
Yeah. And I know it's slightly off of that question, but Luck Bucket's also brought up any word on Google doing their own processors. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm misremembering the rumor, but it was more that Google was hiring people to do processors, not necessarily Google making their own. And to that end, I'm pretty sure Google's goal is more like building like coprocessors and AI chips and various other things that
I would
serve sort of specific purposes.
I wouldn't be surprised if Google has people designing like pieces of like a platform that they will have somebody build at some point, and they might market it as like a Google chip. I mean, they obviously they have people who are building like all of their crazy TensorFlow AI stuff. So they have the expertise to design this stuff, but I don't think Google is going to I don't think there's going to be like the A series equivalent from Google.
Well, and I was just thinking they might not be planning that today, but depending on how things go and if Qualcomm maybe sits on its ass too long or whatever case comes up, you never know if Google might be like, you know what, we already have these people in-house and we're doing this, and let's just go all the way.
Years though, if that, happens.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, these things do not just come out of nowhere. You have to spend a lot of research and development time.
Yeah, I think Xiaomi recently unveiled their first in-home built processor, and I think they said on their press conference it took them 4 or 5 years to just get like their processor, which is not even, it's like a mid-range chip. Yeah. So these things take a long of time.
Okay, I think at that point we're going to call it. The show has been going on for a bit now. I feel like we've hit the requisite time. So further questions can be directed to the next Q&A show on Tuesday, right?
Yes. And if you're listening to this beforehand, we have a new link. You can go to bit.ly/aptwitch and leave the question there, and it will go into a spreadsheet that we'll read from on the next show. So
that's handy. Okay, so and just one more reminder, subscribe to the podcast, helps us keep doing this. If you have Amazon Prime, it is free to you. So just go ahead and do that at twitch.tv/AndroidPolice. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Okay, kill it, Corbin. Kill it.
I think I hit it. Hold on.
Hit it again just to make sure.
I think remote desktop might have froze. Okay, hold on. I'll eventually get this. 1 second.
Okay. Well, I have something to do, so I'm gonna leave, and I'm gonna let you take care of that. I'm pretty sure you can handle that.
Okay.
All
right. Worst case, he'll just pull the power on his computer.
Yeah. I'll go downstairs and unplug the Mac Mini. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's working now, so I'm gonna